Hello everyone, welcome to Knowledge India. In this tutorial, we'll be talking about security groups. So we'll see that in what way security groups act as one more layer of filtering your traffic. So be it Windows or Linux machine, at the operating system level, you have a firewall in place which allows or it denies whether traffic can come or go through from a particular port. Now this layer of security groups, which is given as part of AWS, this acts as an additional layer of filtering, and we'll see that in what way can you implement this and how does it work. What is the use of inbound rules and outbound rules? How does it work? So in order to show that, I'm going to launch an instance, preferably Windows instance will launch, and we will try to understand all the things I talked about. So I'm just launching a small instance to show you how can we do that. So yes, I want an IP address, public IP address, so that I can access it from here. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep the small itself. This is a security group testing. Yeah, create a new. So as part of this launch itself, if you can see, there is a security group which is getting created, a new security group. In this group, there is one rule which is getting added, right? It says allow traffic on port 3389 from anywhere. So, and this is important because I'm going to access it from my laptop, and of course my laptop and this machine which is getting launched, both are not in the same VPC, and hence it has to be given anywhere. I can also change it and make it just the public IP of my laptop, but I'm not gonna do that. We will cover how can you secure things within a VPC in a separate tutorial, right? So go ahead and launch this. So I'm going to create a new key pair, call it SG test. Then I'll launch it. So it will take a few minutes to launch. Okay, looks like machine is there in running state. I'm just going to get the password for this. Let us try to here's the stuff. Okay, let me go ahead and connect this. I can just pick this. I can pick this public IP and put it like that's the password. Yep. So by the time this is all getting set, we will cover two things, right? So in any security group, you have inbound rules and you have outbound rules. In what way these rules work, at what time which rule comes into play, that we'll understand. In order to understand the inbound rules, we'll set up IAS and Tomcat on this machine, and we'll try to access it from outside. So which means our this particular machine 213.45 would act as server. So IIS is a web server given by Microsoft, comes along with the operating system, and Tomcat is an external it is an external web server which you can go and download from their website. It is supported by Apache, and we can install it, right? But why am I doing two web servers? There's a reason behind that. We'll cover it. In order to understand outbound rules, we'll see that how does this help in accessing anything which is outside of the server. So basically, our server 213.45 initiates the request to access a resource which is outside of this machine, and in what way it helps. So that we'll be covering in outbound rules. Okay, now let's go and enable IaaS here. Okay. Okay, so we just clicked on roles and then add roles, and you will have web server IaaS here. So I'm just going to enable that. So next, and then just leaving it at default. Install. So if you actually try to check before IaaS is enabled, there won't be any service running on port 80, right? 80 is the default port for HTTP traffic. So I'm just going to write this localhost 80. Okay, now there is some trouble which it does by default, so it is taking me there. I should have written it in this format. There's nothing currently, so we'll wait by the time this gets installed, and we will also go and download Tomcat. So I want to download as an installer. So I'm gonna go and click this. So I got Chrome here. So with that, I should be able to download this. Is getting downloaded. Leave that. Here IaaS installation is complete. I'm going to say close this as well. Now we'll check whether there is a service running on port 80 now. Yes, so my web server is running here now, right? Now I'll go and try to access this web server from outside. In the meanwhile, let me just initiate this Tomcat installation. It says it is going to run on port 8080. I'll leave it as default. Oh, it's Java path. Okay, I'll take care of this. So with this Apache Tomcat installation is complete. I'm just gonna saying starting the following service. Okay, fine. Now we'll do two things, right? So we will check whether Tomcat has also come here. You remember it was running on port 8080. So we'll try to access it. Yes, it's up. So we have two services, one running on 80 and another running on 8080. Port 80 is not being shown because it is not default port for HTTP traffic. So hence, if you are running on HTTP 80, browser just chooses not to show. In the same way, if you are running a website on port 443 and your protocol would be HTTPS for that, it would not be shown because that is the default port for that particular protocol. Right, now I'm going to try and access these two services from outside of this machine. So this is my IP. I'm going to take this column 80 and this column. Doesn't seem to be opening. It will not, because the traffic going to this machine from my laptop, the traffic which is going to this particular server is not allowed to come inside. Reason is the inbound ports are not open, right? So now we'll go, let's see, for this particular machine, here's the security group. Open this. Now for this security group, the only inbound rule which is allowed is 3389. So that was the reason why we were able to do remote desktop login from my laptop on this particular machine. I'm going to add one rule to allow TCP port 8080 traffic on TCP port 8080 from anywhere. Say save, and then I'm going to refresh this. See, it starts coming. Right, now the same I'll do for 8080 and then it should work, right? So add one more rule for 8080 and say save. Now this should also come up. It doesn't come up still. Now this was the reason I wanted to show you two services and how to solve this. Now when you installed or when you enabled IIS on this particular machine, your operating system knows by default that hereafter traffic would start coming in on port 80, and hence it is allowed that port is allowed at operating system firewall level, right? But Apache Tomcat is an external software which does not come along with the OS, and you went ahead and you installed it. So as part of that, you will also have to do an additional step of opening this port at the operating system firewall level. So understand, on any EC2 there would be two levels of firewall, actually three, but for first would be the firewall at your operating system level. Second would be your security group, which is defined at AWS. Third would be network ACLs. So network ACL will cover in a separate tutorial. For now, I'm gonna go ahead and open this firewall. So I went to computer, manage, and go to configuration, Windows firewall with advanced security. It shows you inbound, outbound rules in the same way as you had in AWS security group, remember? So I'm going to add a new inbound rule of where I want to allow things on a particular port. What is the port? Port is 8080, and I'll say next. Allow the connection, and from everywhere I'm just gonna give a name, Tomcat rule, and say finish. So I've added this rule. This rule has come here. It is in active mode. Now we will go and check this from outside. Works, right? So with this, I hope you understand that what are inbound rules. So if there is a service running on your machine and you want that service to be accessible from outside, you need to add those rules in the inbound rules of your security group. Now let's take a look at the outbound rules. Currently everything is all, right? First I'm going to, and you check that I was able to open any website You check that I was able to access internet on this particular machine, everything was working. Now to understand this better, I'm going to remove this rule in Outbound which says all, that all traffic, outbound everything is allowed. That means from my server which I have created, which is this particular server 213.45, from this traffic can initiate and it can go on any port to any website outside, right? Yeah, to any IP and any port it can go. Now point is, how does it behave once I remove this outbound rules? In what way would it behave for the two services which are running on this machine? Let us just quickly go and check it. I'm just going to open these two, refresh, it continues to work. So you should understand that any service which is running on this particular on this particular machine would be accessible from outside, meaning this rule just defines that in what way the first connection or the initiation of connection would happen. So this is inbound rule, that means traffic which is coming to the server from outside, inbound, and once that connection has happened, over that connection traffic continues to flow to this machine and goes outside. So inbound and outbound you have to understand from the perspective of initiation of the traffic. Okay, now the second part. Now I have removed from outbound, I have removed all the rules. I'll go and I'll try to access internet once again, and it doesn't work, right? Because it's not allowed to access any traffic outside. Now in order to access something, I'll go and I'm adding a rule of a port 80 because on that so many websites run. Okay, let me try and access this now. Doesn't seem to be working because the port used here is HTTPS. Let me try to open something else which is comparatively, or which is running on port 80. So I just opened this. This doesn't seem to be coming. I'll have to search a website which is running on port 80. All of this is running on HTTPS. So in order to do that, okay, let's do one thing. So we can go and add (443), and with this the traffic should be allowed. Yes. Yes, all this is working. So because HTTPS means 443, so once I have allowed the traffic on 443, my this machine 213.45 can initiate connection on this particular port to anything outside. So the way we can make it more secure from a particular machine is, suppose you want to allow that from this particular server only one Oracle, an Oracle database should be accessible, and it should not be able to initiate traffic to anything else. So what we can do is we can add a rule here of outbound type where we say over 1521 I can go and choose a particular IP, and here I can give the IP address of the Oracle database server. That means this this traffic will be able to access that Oracle server and nothing else, right? And I can just delete these two things and it would work. So that's the utility. So when we are setting up proper VPC and doing setup for some customer or production scenarios, we need to avoid putting anywhere, which is 0000/0. We should not put this basically opens up, opens up your machine to be accessible from anywhere. We need to strengthen these things. There we will be putting up a separate tutorial where we would explain these things as part of VPC creation as well, and how to basically secure your machines at that time. With this tutorial, I think your understanding of inbound and outbound connection should be clear. Make sure that you add only those rules which are needed for your machine and not all. That's really insecure, and many of the times you will get an email from AWS saying that there is unnecessary traffic, or you might get an abuse report as well if you are keeping it open that way. So with that, I'm signing off. Thank you for watching.